Hello again, my friend. It's Todd Cetnar, your mental performance coach, and welcome back to the 3 Pillars of Elite Results podcast here on Wisdom Wednesday. You want to talk about thriving through adversity. Christina Campos did just that. At 15 years old, she faced the greatest adversity of her life. Christina was sexually assaulted, lost, no self-worth, dealing with mental health issues, and hadn't really dealt with the awful situation when she was put against her will. But several years later, Christina found something that gave her that self-worth back, something she could call her own, and something that made her feel strong. She found running. On today's podcast, Christina takes us on a journey from being a broken 15-year-old to a mom of 4, thriving as an endurance runner, business owner, and influencer on social media. Please join me and my guest, Christina Campos, on today's podcast. Let's go. Okay, we're here back on the 3 Pillars of Elite Results podcast with Christina. And first of all, Christina, welcome to the podcast. Pleasure to have you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Christina, one of the reasons why I invited you to the podcast is, as my listeners know, we talk a lot about the 3 pillars. It's mindset, leadership, and culture. And as I stumbled upon your social media page, which we're going to talk about how to find you, I noticed that you have a different level of mindset when it comes to your life, your fitness, your family. And I want to make sure our listeners get a little piece of what you have to be able to implement into their life. And before we get into that, what I'd like to do is let's take a step back and tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, where you grew up, and what you do.
So I'm actually a military brat. Okay. I was born in North Dakota and I was raised in Texas. And I've got 4 kids and I'm self-employed. I run an in-home daycare and a full-time Etsy shop, and really there's not much time for else between all of that. So
great. So you got 4 kids. Let's start there, right? Family of 4, your wife, your mother. I actually recently saw you adopted a little girl. Tell us about that process. I know you have some older kids as well, but tell us about the process and why. That's really cool to do.
So long story, my parents foster, and they ended up getting her when she was 7 months old, and she immediately attached to us. And so at that time, we knew her biological mom was going to be going away for a very long time. So I got permission from DCS. I reached out to them and said, we want to be in a position to take her if reunification isn't possible. And so I asked if I could, speak with her mom. And so they let me contact her mom, who was currently incarcerated. And I kind of actually built a relationship with her mom. And about a couple months in, at this point, DCS had transferred her to us as like a kinship foster. So now she's with us, and her mom, reached out and wanted to know if we would adopt her. So she was sentenced 12 years, and she didn't want it over her head, not knowing where she would be placed. And she wanted her to be somewhere that she was comfortable. And so that's how that came about. So, and it took about a year. I mean, it's a lengthy process. It's an emotional process. So, but yeah, we're very happy to have her.
Well, congratulations. Brings joy to your life, I'm sure, to you and your husband. And so, one of the things I noticed about you is there's got to be routines and habits of excellence, something that I talk about all the time with my clients and when I speak, because everyone is searching for that balance in their life, and you can't have balance without routine. And routines and rituals can be good, but they can also be bad. And what I noticed about you is you got into running and endurance running. I've seen some marathons. We'll talk about that as well. But tell me when and how you got into running. You own a business, right? You actually own 2. You mentioned to me off camera that you were a teacher and now a mom of 4, but you get in miles. Tell me how that happened.
So when I was 15, I went through a very traumatic experience. I ended up being sexually assaulted. And it was I never dealt with it. It was something, the police reports were filed, the steps that were necessary were taken at the time, but it was never dealt with. And it was probably about 8 months after that, my high school boyfriend at the time and I became pregnant with my oldest.
Okay.
And we ended up getting married. We had 3 babies pretty much back to back. So
Right.
here I am, 2021 with 3 babies. I had no identity. Mental health was spiraling downhill. I really struggled. I was looking for something that would give me some sort of self-worth, that would make me feel strong, that something that was kind of like just mine, that I could go and do and I could be proud of.
Right.
And so I started running. My mom, I was in Texas visiting my parents when I decided to do it. My husband at the time was in Iraq.
Okay.
And it was 1 mile from my mom's house to my aunt's house.
Okay.
And it was after I had my last son, or my last baby. And I would jog to my aunt's house, walk, jog, back and forth 2 miles. And I remember the first time that I did that 2 miles, and I didn't have to stop because, there's a hill like coming back. I cried like a baby. Like, I was so proud of myself because, I just did 2 miles. And so, at the time I was like, all I need is a pair of running shoes. Like, we were a very young couple. We had these little babies, like gym memberships weren't feasible. And here I am thinking at the time, like, oh, running's not an expensive hobby, but joke's on me now. So
right.
Yeah.
So
So that's how it all started.
Right. So trust me, and we've talked again, like I said, off camera, and I'm doing some Ironman triathlons, and I've done my first marathon. It's hard, right? Running is very hard and taxing your body. Where did the mindset go from, I got 2 miles in, to I'm a Boston Marathon qualifier? Like, how do you continue? There must be a love and passion now for running.
Yeah. So I got to the 2 miles, and then I started, slowly, like building my mileage. And that was like back before, like, I even had a Garmin. So if I wanted to know how far I ran, I'd have to like get in my car and like drive the route, And we ended up, he came back from Iraq. We were stationed at Altus, Oklahoma, Air Force Base. And I got involved with a gym group of other moms there. And one day, one of them kind of like threw it out there, like, hey, let's run a half marathon. And I was like, okay, and so I did. It was the OKC Memorial Marathon. And it was absolutely awful. It downpoured that year. It was freezing cold. I think they might have had to stop the marathon due to like lightning and hail.
Wow.
It was not ideal. And then, I did some races like here and there. Like after that, I continued running, but I didn't really do like the whole race scene. He ended up separating from the military. We got moved to Indiana, where I'm at now. And I got into CrossFit, and I still continued running, but like not like consistently, like where I had like this weekly idea of mileage that I wanted to hit.
Right.
And then it was in 2018, my assault case was reopened. And I was contacted by a private investigator, and everything that I kind of had dealt with back then kind of just came, just
resurfaced,
exploded. It resurfaced. Like it was awful. It was absolutely awful. And so it was at that time that I was like, I need to find something to focus on that's productive. And my kids are older, they were aware of what was going on, and I didn't want them seeing me, taking these past events and like wallowing in them and being a victim to it. Like I wanted to do something with everything I was feeling that could be productive. And so I started running again, and then I was like, I'm going to run a marathon. And that's where it went.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, you've been through some trying times, right? Some really serious stuff with the sexual assault, and I appreciate you sharing that, because that's going to help and save others. But then on a lighter note, it's still adversity. But like when you're in a marathon and you're running those miles, whether training or not, you face adversity. Like every mile, right, is really difficult. What do you do to like one of the things I talk about with my clients is turning adversity into your advantage. How do you do that? Like when you're going through a tough time, your body and your mind are saying no more. Like, what do you look to, or what do you think about to push yourself through to finish the job that you set out to finish?
So I know when I'm running a marathon, like I have certain things that I say in my head, like over and over again, because it is hard because you're going out there and I mean, you're hitting paces, you're hoping to hit paces,
Right.
that normally you wouldn't. And a few things that I tell myself, like when I'm running and I'm in a marathon, I repeat my kids' initials over and over in my head.
Okay.
I count back from 100.
Yep.
I tell myself over and over, like I can do hard things. I've been through worse.
Yep.
Like it's not that bad.
Yep.
Just a lot of positive self-talk, like the
Gotcha.
whole time I'm running.
Yeah.
If I start to feel like I can't do it, or, if things feel like, they're starting to derail, I immediately just flip it back around. So I know the Carmel Marathon I ran, I cramped up at mile 24, I believe.
Okay.
And I was just like, no, because I was going for that BQ. And my first marathon I ran, I missed the BQ by like 33 seconds, which wasn't even like a BQ wasn't even like a part of the plan. Like I just wanted a sub 4.
Right.
So, but yeah, Carmel, I started to cramp up and, I was like, you know what, like, instead of like getting down and on myself, I was like, the last 2 miles I ran quicker than what I anticipated. If I have to slow it down just a little bit, get it back together, then I can finish out the last, mile strong. That got me to mile 25. And then the last mile, I kept telling myself the last mile takes care of itself.
Yep.
So I hit mile 25 and I was like, good to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, congratulations on that. Now, do you have a coach, or you kind of do this on your own? You've learned just
I have been working with Run for PRs since 2019.
Okay.
And I've worked with 3 different coaches there, but I've been with Megan Roth for, it's 2022. I think I've been with her since 2020.
Okay.
I believe.
And for those that don't know who she is, where is she located?
So she's out of Minnesota.
Okay.
She's actually an Olympic qualifier. She's amazing. Okay. And it's funny because she will program paces for me and I'm like, there's no way, like that's not happening. And then like, but she knows me better than I do myself. And so it's been great. Having a coach has been a complete game changer.
100%. I have one as well for Ironman training. And of course I am a coach. So I believe everyone that's striving for excellence, right? Should have a coach. And so that's awesome. Now, how did you find Megan, or did she find you? How did that relationship start?
No, I found her. One of the women that I would run with when my former husband was in the military had actually been using Run for PRs, and I'd seen her like post about it and stuff. And so they had like a free trial,
Yep.
And so that's how that came about.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's cool. So I do believe everyone should have a coach. However, I did notice in one post that you woke up at 3 a.m. for a run, you finished by 5:30 and you got 10 miles in. So let's go back to mindset for a minute. Like, most people can't comprehend, no matter what the passion is, why are we waking up at 3:30 to run 10 miles, put yourself through that, and extend your day from what a normal day is, which is 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours at most. You're going 15, 16 hours just to get a run in the pitch black when it's dark out. Talk to me about, like, what is the mindset behind that?
For me, I've got 4 kids, and after school, after work, it's busy. And I noticed very early on that I'm setting myself up for failure. If I get up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I'll do it after work, because I won't. I will not. And I never wanted like my running to take away from my time with family,
right?
Because it does. Marathon training gets time consuming.
It's tough.
And so if the weather's nice, sometimes like I will go in the afternoon and I'll take the baby in the stroller, but it's what time works the best for me. And I know it does. So people think I'm crazy. But if you come here at night, like you'll see like the headphone lined up, like my headphones, my light, my watch, like my running clothes, like everything's like laid out the night before, because otherwise it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
agreed. And so, that's awesome. And for my listeners, you guys know that we call those PM routines. It's a matter of planning for tomorrow, today, right? And setting yourself up for success so that tomorrow morning you make it easy on yourself to get up early and go get done what you need to get done.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, that leads me another question to your PM routines is, so what time do you go to bed if you're getting up at times that early in the morning? Do you have a regular bedtime? What does that look like?
So I try to go down whenever the baby goes down. And she normally will go down at like 6:30 and she will sleep until 6:30, which I'm going to be really sad when that stops because we're lucky and I know it's not going to last forever, but so I'm usually in bed by 8 at the latest.
Okay.
So I still get a solid night of sleep, but yeah. And it's hard. Like I mean, in the summer, it's not as bad because I'm beating the heat and the humidity here. But in the winter, it's brutal. Like it's cold. It's rough. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to the mothers about, you got 4 kids, you got a young one, you're going to bed early, you're waking up early, but you still got your nights where your days and nights you're taking the kids for ice cream, you're eating unhealthy food because you're feeding them macaroni and cheese. How do you balance all of that to stay healthy and really follow your fitness goals?
So I meal prep. Okay. So on Sunday, like I'll go do my grocery shopping Saturday or Sunday, depending on which day, has the most time. And I will meal prep. I'm the queen of habit. So I don't mind re-eating leftovers. Right. I know some people are like, that's not for them, but I'll cook up like ground turkey, sweet potatoes, rice, broccoli, like enough to have some variety. I'll throw like some chicken on the grill. And that's what I'll do for like my lunches all week. And then for breakfast, it's usually like a protein shake or like we'll pre-make muffins or like bagels, something that's quick for the kids. I will meal prep like breakfast burritos that they can pop into the microwave. Right. Anything that I can do to free up more time during the week. If I know that like I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to run and we have like a busy evening coming up or it's going to be a busy day with work. Like I already know like what crock pot meal or Instapot meal, will be happening like that night. So it's all about just planning.
100%. Yeah. Meal
and keeping it easy. Like I try to cook things that I know everyone will eat. We're not doing anything like crazy over here, like, with all these restrictions, but I mean, I try to fix stuff that's like healthy, but like, I know the kids will eat. So
that's great.
I try to keep takeout to the minimum, but it happens.
It happens. But meal prepping is key, and people that are doing what we're doing, which is endurance running and Ironman training, it's important. So what, for those people that are listening that are into this kind of stuff, right? What supplements would you recommend that you take on a day-to-day that help your body recover and give you the most energy you need to perform?
So I take, oh gosh, I can't think of the name of it now. It's like a vegan protein, which I'm not vegan, but I like the way it tastes. Okay. I'm really weird when it comes to like protein powders, but as soon as I'm done running, like I'll come in, it's the quickest way I can get like some carbs and protein in. Yep. And so I'll do this protein smoothie. And then I really don't take a whole lot of supplements. Like I take like a women's daily multivitamin. Yeah. And then I drink electrolytes. Anyway, I can get them in. Rooted just sent me some samples to try. I actually really like it. And it's also like a daily vitamin too. So when I drink it, I'm getting electrolytes and my daily vitamin. And then on my runs, I use salt sticks and goo. And I recently started, using mod balls. I haven't tried using mod balls during a speed run yet. So I tolerate them fine, like on a long run, but sometimes when you throw in some speed, what might work may not work. So
agreed. Yeah. So if we rewind the clock for 1 minute and talk about you as a young girl growing up, like who did you look? I know things changed as you got a little bit older and got into running, but who inspired you? Like, who are the people that you looked up to that really motivated you as growing up, or even today? It should be a 2-part question.
Probably my Mima. Okay. She's feisty. She is a go-getter. I mean, anything that she says she's going to do, like it's going to get done. Right. She's an all-around amazing person. So I think she's always been my inspiration, even now as an adult. Like if there's one person that I can call on, it's her. Right. And she's 83, I believe. Now.
I'm assuming a Mima means a grandmother.
Yes.
Okay.
And she still gets up every morning. They have an indoor pool. She swims laps every day. I mean, like, she
Wow.
is not being like, you're not slowing her down. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Now,
Yeah.
quick question for you here. If you could define yourself in one word, I know I'm putting you in a spot here, but if you could define yourself in one word, what would that word be and why?
Hmm. I think resilient.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me why. We know that we know the early childhood adversities. I get.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of it. I think when, things like that happen and then having kids young, like, I think you're kind of setting yourself up for failure almost. Like, it's very hard to having children is hard. Having children as a teenager is even harder. And there's been just a lot of things like with moving and trying to go back to school with kids in tow. I mean, so yeah, I would say resilient.
If I were to tweak that question, say if you wanted anyone else to describe you in one word, would it be the same word, or would there be another word you'd choose?
I'd probably say, yeah,
Yeah.
resilient. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's a good word. So, if you had an opportunity
Hmm.
to sit across the table from three people, dead or alive right now, celebrities, non-celebrities, if we don't know the names, explain who they are. But if you had an opportunity to sit next to three people and you can ask them whatever question you wanted, what are the three people you choose and why?
So I would say probably my great grandma.
Okay.
She lived with us, like, during her last years, and we took care of her, but she was a huge influence in my life as well. And she's no longer with us.
Okay.
So I miss her. And then don't laugh, but Anne Boleyn.
Okay. Who is
Who
sorry, who is that?
So she is King Henry VIII's second wife.
Okay.
I love history, but she was she was a force to be reckoned with. Like in the 1500s, like she was a woman who was advocating for like gender equality. Women should be allowed in universities and own property. And so like, it would just be, I don't know. I think she'd be an interesting person to have a conversation with. It didn't work out for her well because he had her head, but
Right.
but yeah, so
That's
there's
an
that.
interesting one. Okay, good.
Yeah,
There's two.
so she's interesting. And then probably my friend Katie. I talk to her every day, but we've not been able to get together in like 8 years. So yeah, she's one of my closest friends. But if I could sit down across from her, that would be really cool.
Well, if she listens to this, I'm sure she'll appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Before I get into some hot seat questions that I do with all of my guests, I have one last question for you, which is if you could rewind the clock and give one piece of advice to the teenage version of you, like what would you say to that girl? Because what you know now, you didn't know then.
Ooh.
Right. So what would be the advice
Yeah.
you'd give a teenage version of yourself?
Gosh, that's a hard one. Probably that it's going to be okay. Everything going on during those teenage years, like it's a moment, it's going to go by quick. It's going to be fine. Keep pushing on. Your life is going to be great.
Yep.
So, but yeah, kind of not to lose hope.
Not to lose. Yeah. The best is always yet to come. That's the way I look at it.
Honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Are you ready for hot seat questions before we close the podcast here?
I think so.
All right. So again, my listeners know this. All I want you to do is answer this with your first gut feeling, not a lot of thought into it. So we kind of get a sense of who Christina is at her core. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. First question is last meal. If you can choose anything you want, what would it choose?
Steak and baked potato.
Wow. That's a very simple girl right there. All right. Your most favorite smell in the world is what?
Probably it's like this like rose lilac smell, or honeysuckle. Like when I'm out running, the smell of honeysuckle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And
Okay.
it's like, it never lasts long enough. Like you get like a whiff of it and it's like, oh, that's so nice. And
I
then
love
it's
that.
gone.
Okay. I love that. All right. What's all-time favorite movie?
Harry Potter.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Wow. Didn't
Oh, don't
expect
make
that
fun of
one.
me.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Christina's biggest pet peeve in life.
When people say they can't.
I like that.
Yeah. When people say they can't do something.
Got it. What's your favorite
Yeah.
app on your phone right now?
Probably Instagram
I can understand that.
or
All right.
Pinterest.
All right. We're going to really get to know who Christina is now. Most embarrassing moment ever.
Oh gosh.
Mm.
Shoot. Hold on. Let me think about this. There's so many.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Okay, well, this isn't the most embarrassing ever, but it was pretty embarrassing. I was out
Okay.
for a run the other morning and the neighbor was coming home. And as I was like turning the corner, my shoe like caught the cement and I just like
I'll
bottomed
take it.
out. So, yeah.
You went right down?
I went right down. And I mean, like the whole like arms flailing and everything trying to catch myself. So
Yeah,
it's like 4 a.m. He's coming home from night shift. He like puts his head out the truck window and I'm like, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good. I'm up.
So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm up.
All right.
Embarrassing.
We'll take that as an answer. What is the current background on your cell phone?
My family.
That's awesome. If you could buy anything in the world, what would it be?
Anything in the world? Maybe some more Nike Vaporflies. I don't know. There's not really much that I want.
The new ones just came out. They're really cool.
Yeah, I saw those. Yeah. So maybe a pair of those. They're kind of pricey.
All right, we got to get those. All right, how about this? Some people don't have this. Curious if you do. You're into motivation. Do you have an all-time favorite quote?
Not necessarily. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not that I can think of like right off the top of my head. Well, actually there is one. Rachel Hollis, I think it might be her quote. I'm not sure whose it is, but "And Still I Rise." That's
Okay.
one that I really like.
I like that one.
So,
Okay. And then the last hot seat question is this. What is the one song when you could be in a car, you already know where this is going. What's that one song that when that comes on, man, you got energy just burning through your system and you're ready to get out there and run a marathon? What is it?
so embarrassing. Probably Footloose.
This could also be your most embarrassing moment. Let's hear it.
Footloose. You know that song?
What is it?
Footloose from the movie.
Oh, wow, it's old school.
Yeah. It somehow ended up on like my old school iPod, like the little ones, the little nano things. And I don't even know how it got on there, but yeah, anytime it comes on, I don't know, just like a happy upbeat song.
You just start dancing. That's all.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Well, before we kind of part ways here, I always like to leave our guest with some parting words for our listeners, right? And so our listeners are from CEOs and organizations to parents, to people that are into ultra endurance stuff and so on and so forth. So from the heart, if you were to leave some parting words for our listeners, for them to take forward with them, what would you say to
them? Probably anything. If you're wanting to figure out how to do something, anything is figure outable. I don't even know that that's a word, but anything is figure outable.
I love that.
And if you don't know how, reach out to like-minded people or people that are already doing, what it is you're wanting to do. Like when I came into the marathon scene, I had no idea. And so I started reaching out to friends that had already, had done the marathon, who had experience. I got a coach, I read books. I looked at training plans. I mean, anything you want to do, you can figure it out if you want to do it bad enough.
I love that. I appreciate that. Yeah. So figure outable, for those of you that are listening, that is a new word that I'm going to start using. Yes, that is fantastic.
That's what I always tell myself.
Exactly. I love that.
Figure outable. Yeah.
I love that. Well, listen, thank you so much for being a part of our 3 Pillars of Elite Results podcast. You're an inspiration. Keep doing what you're doing. Post daily, because I know people are watching. It helps people get out of the rut that they are in. And of course, now hearing your story, I'm sure you're helping a lot of young women and men that have gone through what you've gone through. So thank
Absolutely.
you so much. I appreciate that. And thanks for
Thank
being on
you.
the podcast. Today is up to you. Take inspired action and don't count the days. Make the days count.